A California Bay Area city is proposing a landlord tax that would pay for affordable housing, but it will actually make housing less affordable. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting topic for you today, and it's coming out of the Bay Area of California. Now, obviously, I talk about California a lot because they pass more rules that affect landlords than any other place in the entire country. I mean, obviously, they think that, hey, these super progressive left-leaning laws, they're actually going to make things better. But when you put too many laws, too many rules, and too many regulations on people, you know what that does? It discourages them from investing. It discourages them from wanting to even remain in the state. And that's why so many people are leaving California and going to places where the grass is greener, okay? I mean, you can go over to places like Nevada right next door. They don't even have a state income tax there. Or a place like Arizona, where even though the prices have gone up recently, they're still significantly lower than in California, and they don't have all the rules, regulations. They're very business friendly, and it's a great place to live. I lived there myself for 4 years, so I just don't understand why the people of California seem to think that, hey, the more laws we pass, the better things are going to be. It's the exact opposite. So in the town of East Palo Alto, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area, right, they decide they want to increase their landlord tax up, because they already had a landlord tax in place, but they want it to cover even more landlords, and they want the tax to be even higher. And they say, oh, it's for a good cause. We're going to, use the money collected from the tax to pay for affordable housing. Yeah, well, you know what? I don't know if that money is going to be used that way or not. All I know is that landlords are truly struggling in these places because of rules such as rent control. And this place has rent control at it. But the thing is, right, they think that, hey, well, the landlords won't be able to pass this increased tax on to the tenants. Well, maybe not, but that doesn't mean that there won't be other things that landlords will do. For example, get completely out of the rental business, sell to owner occupants, convert their buildings to condos, and guess what? The amount of affordable housing available at that point, it just starts to decline and decline. And, I believe that newer buildings in California, or newer buildings in this town at least, they're not under rent control. So some people might be like, well, I can't make any money on this older rent control building, so I'm just going to tear my whole building down and build a new one. And none of my units will be under rent control. But, landlords seem to always find a way to make their money. And that might be from cutting all of the capital expenditures and repairs and maintenance to their building as well. That's an unintended consequence. So you suddenly have these dilapidated, old, crappy buildings that haven't been updated in 40 years. And, you're like, well, why is our housing stock in such bad shape? Well, you created the situation by taxing the landlords too much and making it so that they couldn't make a profit. So, yeah. That it's your fault. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, okay? Does the city where you operate have a landlord tax? I can tell you that I used to invest in Phoenix, Arizona, and they actually had a specific sales tax that I had to pay, within the city limits, right? And you know what I did? In Phoenix, there was no problem. I just charged that tax straight to the tenants, okay? Just tacked it right on top of my monthly rent. And here, you pay this, But in California, I don't think you can do that because of their rent control laws. But I'm not sure what they are thinking. And the truth of the matter is, it's not going to help the affordable housing there. It's a very, very popular area where they don't have much new construction, and the new construction they do build is very high end. So, I don't understand why they're always trying to punish landlords in this sort of situation, okay? The landlords are not to blame for the housing costs, right? It is all of the anti-development policies that you guys have created, and then all these rules that basically discourage people from wanting to rent their properties out. So let's get into the article, though. I'm ranting too much already. This article is coming from PaloAltoOnline.com, and it says, for East Palo Alto landlords, Measure L would increase taxes. Tax would apply to nearly all residential landlords to fund affordable housing and assistance programs. I don't think the money that they're going to raise is going to be enough to fund what they think, but let's get into the article and see what it says. A measure to increase a business tax that would impact nearly all residential landlords who own property in East Palo Alto to 2.5% will come before voters on November the 8th. East Palo Alto's Measure L, not to be confused with Palo Alto's Measure L, which would allow gas utility profits to continue supporting that city's general fund, would raise the existing business tax of 1.5% on a residential's gross receipts to 2.5%, and landlords could not pass on the tax to their tenants. The tax would generate an estimated $1.48 million annually, which would be used to fund general government work such as affordable housing, providing tenant rental support, and protecting local residents from displacement and homelessness, according to the measure's text. So they think that $1.48 million a year is going to do all that, that it's going to provide affordable housing and rental support and all. That's nothing, okay? That's a very minuscule amount of money. And honest truth, they put out optimistic projections of how much they think that these taxes are actually going to collect, not realizing that, hey, there's going to be landlords who find exemptions to the rules, there's going to be landlords going out of business, there's going to be a declining number of rental properties available, and the amount, it's going to be significantly less than that, and it's going to be declining as time passes. Okay, so this even that amount, yeah, it's too much to me still. Okay, because the landlords already are put in a situation where they're under rent control, and now you're taking even more from them. It's just not fair. The new measure would differ from the current iteration by taxing all residential landlords regardless of how many units they own. The current 1.5% tax approved by voters under Measure O in 2016 applies to landlords who own 5 or more rental units. And see, this is a perfect example right there. Now, I always say, hey, remember what all the stuff that they're doing to these big landlords, and you're sitting there, you're the small landlord, you've got your one single family house, right? And you're like, oh, those big rich guys, you tax them, and that's what you say, right? But look, the city turned around, and now they're coming after all landlords, including the little small guy with just one house, or just one duplex where you live in one side and then rent out the other. They're coming after you as well. This is exactly what I've been saying, right? They don't see any difference between a small landlord and a big landlord. That's why we must fight these laws. And if they apply to big landlords, they're coming after you next. The tax can't be passed to tenants who are protected by the city's rent control ordinances. Taxes would likely not be passed on to other renters, as landlords typically charge rents at the maximum rate the market will bear, the city noted in the ordinance text. East Palo Alto tenants have been increasingly displaced as the city has become more attractive. Violent crime has sharply decreased in recent years. Speculators, investors, and tech and high-income buyers have flocked to the city to escape the unattainable home prices in surrounding cities. The city is also situated in the center of Silicon Valley, where lucrative jobs are nearby. So, yeah, basically what they're saying is, hey, we don't think that, or we think that, all the city's properties that are under rent control are going to have to pay this, and they won't be able to raise the rent in order to cover the cost, which means that they want the landlords to have to eat the cost, which is ridiculous. I mean, I'm like, well, why would you want the landlords to make less profit? Okay. Well, do you go down to the grocery store and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to raise the tax on food, but we're not going to allow the grocery store to increase the cost of food. The grocery store just has to eat those losses. No, you wouldn't do that. So why are you doing this with housing because they're idealists, okay, and what their ultimate goal is to go into socialized housing where the government owns everything, where you own nothing. You're just living in your government house, getting your government check every month, and the government takes care of you. You have no freedom. You can't move anywhere. You can't do what you want to do, and you're just stuck. That's what the ultimate goal of all this nonsense is basically to strip us of our property rights and push us over into a system of socialism. And that's why I am so against it. Okay, we need to stick to capitalism. We need to keep our property rights. We need to be the place where, hey, you can be born with nothing and then work hard your life and build up success and then own something, and start your own business and be a landlord if you want. That's what I did, and that's why I'm in support of it, and that's why I'm so against this nonsense. And I realize I'm sitting here and I'm talking about this place, right? And the landlords who operate in a place like this, most of them, they knew what they were getting into when they bought, okay? But I still feel bad for them. I feel bad for them because they just don't realize how awful it is, okay? Anyway, interesting article, and I'm going to continue to bring you more great ones out of California.